Alright guys, so today we have a very special review of a product. This is a product from SimLab, and this is the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula 1 Team Sim Racing Steering Wheel 2024 and 25. Quite the mouthful, but it is an exceptional racing team, so they deserve a name to fit the bill. So for those of you that don't know what this is pretty much what it looks like. It is a Formula 1 team basically that worked with SimLab, it's the Mercedes F1 team, to make a recreation of their steering wheel in the application for sim racing, but it is as close to a replica as possible down to some of the finest details, and it is boasting a price that is according to this. So if we check the price real quick, it is $2,699 on their website, currently sold out at the moment, as you could imagine. Obviously this isn't for everyone. It is quite an expensive price, so if you are interested in actually purchasing this, so hopefully I can show it to you as much as I can through video, and if you can't afford a wheel like this, well, let's just enjoy it together. So the box itself is stunning, it's simple, it's sleek, and to be honest, it just builds suspense, which I kind of like. For a mega F1 fan and a huge sim racing head, the box really just fits the bill. You have this kind of glossy logo of the wheel, which is a 1-to-1 size, kind of, you know, building up the suspense to what's inside. Around the sides, you have kind of the Mercedes name, the F1 team name, you have the logo, you have the SimLab logo, and basic branding stuff. But in general, it is just an all black box, and if anything, what comes to mind is just it builds suspense. Now, without further ado, let's open it up. So inside the box, we'll find some basic instructions, a heap of stickers by the looks of it. So from what I've seen online, you have multiple stickers depending on your favorite driver in the Mercedes F1 team. You have all the stickers that you can put on yourself. We're just going to leave those to the side though for now. We have what appears to be a foam cutout in the shape of a Mercedes F1 wheel. We'll put it this way, guys. This in itself is just enough wow for me. But yeah, let's have a little look at the extras first. So here we have what seems to be a USB extender. So here's the USB-A male, USB-A female there. So this is so you can get a USB port close to your rig. I'm assuming for, not the screws, for the cable. This is the cable that connects to your steering wheel, and then the USB will connect into this, and then this connects into your PC, as the PC may not be exactly close to your wheelbase. And that's really nice that they've included the screws, because you can have a large collection of screws, but these ones are kind of hard to find, and if you do manage to have 2 or 3, they usually get lost. Now, I guess for the main event, we're going to lift off this foam, and underneath will be the F1 wheel. Quite an impressive look, I'll give it to them. Now, you may already notice that this has been lifted. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that when the delivery driver gave this to me, I opened it up like a child, and I just had to see it for myself. The impatience was about 12 to 13 seconds, so I lasted a while, but yeah, hence why this looks like it was lifted and put back down, but I didn't deprive you of the full lift. So we're going to do the full lift of the plastic. Absolutely bliss. And let's take a look at this wheel. So this is the wheel. I'm not going to go too technical into it, as you could probably imagine we'd be here forever. But here are some of the specs on the screen now. But in general, this is a completely handcrafted carbon fiber wheel. This shell is very, very smooth to the touch the whole way around. So I'll give you a quick little preview all the way around the wheel. So we have the front here, which is very impressive looking, and any F1 fan would definitely be very, very impressed by all of this. On the back, we have the classic rocker that you see in the F1 races and whatnot. You can shift up or down with either side. You have the very fancy clutch where you can put your 2 fingers in here and then slowly bring that out. One thing that I'd like to say about these is the build quality on these is exceptional. In general, the actual feel of it, you can tell it's a very precise amount of pressure needed to make this shifter engage. Same with this down here. When you let go of it, there's no rough metal on metal sounds. It's just a soft stop, completely soft. Same with these. You can let go of these, but you don't get any metal on metal sounds. It's more so just a harsher stop. We have the mounting spacer that you would put your quick release on, and we also have the cable where we would connect up, and we also have a Mercedes kind of holographic sticker here. On the front of the wheel, this is obviously where you would see all the stickers being going. You could set it up for whichever way you want it for your driver. There's a heap of stickers in the pack there. There's thumb encoders, rotary encoders, plenty of buttons. We even got 2 buttons on the back here that you may recognize from the real variant of the steering wheel. The encoders are very, very stiff, which is very nice, to be honest. There's no accidentally doing 3 moves when you meant 2, or 2 when you meant 1, or 1 when you meant 2. It is very exact, and it does require a fair amount of pressure to turn these, but it's not so much that it's uncomfortable or impractical to use in a sim racing scenario, so that is a very nice touch. The display here has the lights kind of built into the glass, so it really is an all-in-one unit, hence the really sleek kind of finish. You can see that the carbon fiber is really molded around this wheel, so it kind of works with every single part. The CAD files from the real wheel were used to make this wheel. And a fun fact was that they actually brought this, when I was speaking to Richard from SimLab, they said that they brought this wheel alongside the actual real wheel to the Mercedes F1 factory, and they had people do a side-by-side test, and some people were struggling major to know which was the real one and which was the sim racing SimLab one. One of the last things I'd like to cover, because I could probably stay here for quite a while, but we're not going to do that, is the grips. The grips are fairly impressive. The ergonomics of this, you know, your thumbs can reach pretty much anywhere around here. Super, super easy. Obviously bar these encoders, but naturally you can still leave your hand on the steering wheel and then just roll over to get whatever it is you need, and you still have some form of contact with the wheel. Obviously, this was designed for use in a Formula 1 car, and this is a borderline exact replica of what you will find in the F1 car. So one of the minor shortcomings of this would be that it doesn't have things that you would find on a sim racing steering wheel, because firstly, that's not the purpose of it, and it would have destroyed this product if you were to find things like a very loose, funky switch, or these kind of analog kind of mouse controller things that you would find on some other sim racing wheels, but this is not for that. The design of this wheel is to be an exact replica of the F1 wheel. Now, although there is a lack of those things, it's more than made up with the amount of functionality on this wheel. We can see there are 15 different areas that we can move these to. We have multiple areas that these encoders can go to, so the combinations that you can get out of this steering wheel more than make up for the lack of a funky switch. One thing I'll do while it's not on the rig is actually show you the sounds so you can hear what they sound like. This one's a little bit stiffer than these guys. It's a different size as well. And this is what I mean about the clutch, that when you were to let go of it in an aggressive manner, you would expect a kind of harsh action, but to be honest, it's completely soft. There is no metal on metal. If anything, most of the sound is coming from the table there, but it's extremely, extremely soft. So one of the things I'm keen about to see when this is on the rig is to see how its lightness impacts how force feedback is felt. The lighter the wheel, maybe the easier the energy comes through into the hands. I'd like to see how these grips actually work in the hands. They do get quite soft down here, which is very interesting. So your hand really molds into the grip, but you don't lose any kind of grip. It is truly, once your hand is on, it's making the most of the grip. Very curious to see how the different functionality systems are going to work in the car and how this display works once we're actually, you guessed it, in the car. So now before we get going, we're going to be putting on these screws into this guy and marrying this up. I'm going to be using the SimMagic QRA adapter. This has a USB port here, so that way you can just plug your wheel into the USB port. This connects into your SimMagic Evo base if you have one, and then that way there's no real need for extra USB fluff. But there are many ways that you can do this. You can just use a standard quick release if you want, and then do the cable into the car. So let's get this on. Right, so here we are in the simulator. We're going to be clutching in using the very, very fancy clutch that comes with this wheel. We're going to be using these new shifters to take off. So let's clutch in. Into second gear I'm going to go. Hold the throttle and then we'll slowly come off the clutch. No pro with this, but we can definitely have some fun with this. So let's come off the clutch slowly. Bit slow, bit slow, bit slow, but hey, we're away. Bit of a tire shred on the rear. We're good to go. One thing that's noticeable off the bat is the shifters are very, they're very precise. It's very hard to convey into words, but they take a very exact amount of pressure. So some shifters use a kind of magnetic shifter system, which these very well may. I'm not quite sure how the switching works on it. But it's like a trigger on a gun. If anyone's ever gone shooting before, you know exactly how much pressure you need to press to get the function that you want. Now, the next thing kind of screaming out at me here is the grips. The grips they're very grippy. I'm not going to lie. It's a very nice kind of silicone that they've used here. I'm assuming it's silicone, but it is
extremely comfortable, I will say. Super, super comfortable. The fact that I'm using the QRA steps it a little bit closer, kind of like a traditional Formula wheel would be. It's kind of up close and personal to you. But the grips and the ergonomics of this wheel are very interesting. When you turn in, you know, the grip stays in an optimal position. So, you know, it is designed with comfort in mind, but also performance, which is very interesting. When we change brake bias, it pops up on the screen, which is very, very neat. Similar to, you guessed it, the Formula One car by Mercedes. Going around the Parabolica now, that's where we can move on to the force feedback sensations that I'm getting here. Because of how light the wheel is, I'm really getting all of that fine detail being put out by the Alpha Evo Pro by SimMagic. You know, it's a wheelbase that has excellent force feedback to deliver, and this is a wheel that has no problem communicating that to you. I'm going to put it down to the firmness and the rigidity of the wheel, and also the lack of weight in the wheel. Meaning, if in effect, I'm making my wheelbase stronger and it can move a little bit quicker as it has less weight to move. Now, I'm not a genius, but I think that statement is correct. But wow, I just have to say, just kind of, you know, it takes your breath away a little bit. I'll give it to them. You know, they've done an excellent job here. You can't make a product like this without love, without passion. You know, there's a lot of hours that went into this, I am sure. God, if I was to ask, I'm sure it's many, but I guess we'll keep that number can be kept a secret, but you can tell you don't just, you know, throw something like this together. It's been thought about, it's been executed correctly, and the finished product is something exceptional. I'll give it to them. It's very expensive. That's very true. It's very expensive, but not for everybody. That's the thing. So the price isn't for everybody, but for the people that this isn't too expensive for and who can afford it, you're getting your money's worth. I will tell you that now. It is an exceptional steering wheel as far as performance goes. One thing I'd like to say is that a very interesting preconception that I had about this steering wheel was, oh, that's a nice steering wheel. I even said it actually when it was announced. I made a video about it. That's a very nice steering wheel, but I think that's the sort of thing that'd be better to have up on your, you know, mantelpiece or something. You know, that's something that you can put it on your rig if you want, but you're not gonna. You're gonna leave it on your mantelpiece. You're gonna put it in a glass box or something. It's gotta be a showpiece. When people come over, they're gonna be like, "Excuse me, why the heck do you have a Mercedes F1 wheel just on your shelf?" If an F1 fan's seen it, you know, it's like, can I touch, please? But what's super interesting is that it is a decent, far from decent. It is an excellent sim racing wheel. It's very easy to get to grips with. Functionality wise, it's on the ball. Yes, it does miss some of the traditional features of a Formula One steering wheel, such as a funky switch, or, well, that's really it, to be honest, isn't it? Such as a funky switch or like a little mouse thing. But to be honest, anyone with half a head could make use of one of the bajillion different kinds of switches on here and get what they want, such as rotating black boxes. In essence, you can just use two of the encoders and one button, and essentially you've made yourself some form of a funky switch. As we get into a little bit of a heated battle here, I think we have DRS now. There we go, DRS on. Let's pull out. How fun, huh? To go for an overtake in the Mercedes F1 car with a Mercedes wheel. You know, as a lifelong F1 fan, it is a serious treat. So to wrap it all up, it is an exceptional wheel. And it depends on the kind of customer you are if this wheel is for you or not. In general, the performance of it, does it do what it says out of the box? In general, yes. You know, the grips are incredible, the ergonomics are incredible. This is derived from the F1 steering wheel in the Mercedes F1 car itself. So we are expecting general perfection in that sense, that if it's good enough for the Mercedes F1 team, it's good enough for this. And ideally, in turn, should be good enough for you. The only pitfall that this wheel has, unfortunately, for the majority of people watching this video, will be the price. The price that sits at around €2,699, which means this is a very expensive steering wheel. Now, the cost that goes into a wheel like this, the development, the countless hours, I assume there was many hours gone involved into this, and then the licensing stuff, if there is any, obviously means that we end up with a ultra premium price for an ultra premium product. Obviously, depending on the kind of customer you are, if you have that kind of money to spend and it doesn't make a dent on you and this is a treat for yourself, or if it's a gift for somebody else, undoubtedly you will be absolutely satisfied by this wheel. I don't think there's any part of this wheel that you'd look at and be like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Oh, shucks, you know. No, absolutely not. You will be stunned by it. And one very important point I have is the preconception that I spoke of earlier, that I did not think that this would be as good of a sim racing wheel as I thought it would be. Instantly, you just kind of, it's hard to talk, it's hard to say, but you really just mold into the wheel, and the force feedback coming through. It's very easy to hold this wheel in a super light way because of the way the grips are made, and that it just goes. You kind of get in deep with your car, and that's a very excellent thing. Very hard to convey, but I hope you understand what I mean. You can really just grab this with your palms, hold on to it, and you know, you can feel what's going on under the car, especially if you have a decent base like I do that puts out some really good force feedback. But yeah, this is not a showpiece. This is not a mantelpiece thing. This is not something that you just leave in a velvet bag in a glass case and you only take it out every once now and again just to show, oh, well, I can put it on my rig. I do it once a year. Absolutely not. This thing looks like it wants to be used and abused with a little bit of care, obviously. But this could take any pounding you want on sim racing. You know, it feels extremely durable in every single sense. Twisting, pulling, pushing the shifters, over pressing them and really squeezing them in. You know, it stays completely consistent all around. So as a sim racing wheel, that preconception I had was completely shattered. This is an excellent wheel for sim racing, and I definitely will be using it every now and again on my rig, especially when racing Formula cars. So I'm very curious to see how that goes on a more long-term basis. But as predicted, you know, this review was always going to go well, as this is a pretty perfect product. And for those of you that may not be able to afford something like this, or even if you could, you may have better things to spend your money on, like the very vast majority of people watching this video. I hope this was fun to just kind of share this experience with you and just kind of show you around this steering wheel as well. And I'm really honored to be able to have done that with you guys. So I'm really, really happy about that. But yeah, so next on the cards for this wheel is I'm going to be using this in some of my live streams. We're going to be doing more of a long-term test on it. Definitely having the opportunity to take this out in different Formula cars on iRacing. I did try this at the Sim Racing Expo with a Formula 3 car. So I'm really, really looking forward to actually putting this through its paces to see how it changes over time, because these grips are incredible. I'd love to see how they hold up 3, 6, 9 months in. So definitely a very interesting piece, guys. And if you enjoyed the video, don't be afraid to show some love down below. If you're interested in this product, check out the link down below to SimLab's website. And yeah, have a lovely rest of your day.